Join us, come on in here. Glad to have you along on this mid-morning mix. Right now, it is the Voice for Real Estate presentation of CWTAR, the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors, and sponsored by Leaders Mortgage Services, Allstate Insurance, Angie Hooten Hughes, your agent, and Bird Attorneys. Back in the house with us this time, Brent Ward. Looking good.
On, Jimmy?
Man, you look all rested and refreshed and highly educated.
Okay, we'll go with that. That sounds good.
Must be the sweater, right?
It's the sweater. That's what it is. And the button-down collar.
Yeah, right. I love button-downs. See, I was watching something the other day, and I am no fashion expert. You can tell by what I wear. These are not fashion jeans. Believe me, they don't make them in this size. But I've gotten used to kind of the spread collar.
Yes.
But this one was almost non-existent. It was one of those, and you could see all the knots and stuff, and you could see the button on the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, you don't need to be on television wearing that. But he was much younger than I, and I guess that's the style for those folks nowadays. So.
That is the style, yeah.
Yep.
That is.
No, I'm an Oxford cloth button-down guy.
I have worn many of those over the years.
Oh, yeah.
I don't own that many of those.
I don't either. I just, I don't. Okay, we need to bring you up a little bit, he said. All right, there we go.
All right.
How's that? Is that better, Paul?
Yeah.
Paul Schulze, we almost forgot what we were doing there. Paul Schulze's over there.
Well, I got these big shiny mics in front of me.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how
I
close
know.
I need to be in front of this
Well,
thing,
it's a new thing every day. We're still working on that ourselves.
These things are cool.
Paul Schulze from Worthy Road Studios is over in the booth as he is on this time Monday. Takes care of all of our social media connections, and in this case, the CWTAR Facebook page.
That's
We're
right.
on Facebook Live. Hi, Facebook. How are you? And we'll be there for the next 30 minutes or so.
We will.
Let's talk. Let's talk about your excused absence last week. You went on an educational tour, and then we'll talk about the subject of the day.
That was kind of interesting. So this is something that we do every year. I think I talked about a little bit about it last year. So we had our normal Tennessee Realtors Conference, which
right.
We have moved from Cool Springs to downtown Nashville.
Uh-oh.
So that was new for us.
Crowded a little?
Actually, it wasn't that bad.
Really good. Good.
Now, I don't know who scheduled this thing to start the day after the Super Bowl, which is the most called out sick day in
for
the country.
Sure. For sure.
But
maybe that's why the traffic wasn't bad.
that's probably why the traffic wasn't bad, but I didn't even leave till the Super Bowl was over to head to Nashville, so I didn't check in until like 11:35 that night because I had people at the house and was enjoying the game. It was a good game. And but anyways, but yeah, we had a good conference. It was good. But the big thing was on Wednesday, we do our Realtors Day on the Hill, and we do that every single year,
right.
Where realtors from all over the state converge on the Capitol. And we go around and we meet with our individual legislators and just kind of talk to them about things that are real estate related that we see coming up, bills that might be trying to work their way down the line, things we agree with, things we disagree with, things that we're just kind of watching and monitoring. And now we kind of got there a little early this year. They hadn't finished the bill filing deadline was not passed when we were there.
Right.
So, and a lot of people will literally wait until that last day to file a bill. So there was a lot of stuff that might not have made it in front of our radar, but we had a few talking points. One of which is we were one of the predecessors, realtors were in the state of Tennessee to help remove the professional privilege tax that brokers had to pay every single year if you're a managing broker. That's $400 a year.
Right.
But you got to think about how many managing brokers are across the state. That was supposed to be a temporary tax when they originally put that into place, but that temporary tax stretched into like 12 years worth of temporary tax. And it's not just realtors, but other people, and they're slowly but surely starting to phase out these professional privilege tax that they did in order to raise money, supposedly on a temporary basis.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so we hope that helps out with other people along the way. But one thing I found out that I told you I was going to share with you this morning is Tennessee is, according to what our representatives told us, Tennessee is the most financially sound state in the United States.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it really is. Like we have, and I hate to say this on the air, but I mean it's public knowledge, but we have so much reserves out there right now that the governor is getting ready to propose some legislation that will give upwards of like $50 to $100 million available to local governments and stuff like that to help that they can, to try to get some of that money back the best way that they know how. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I
Yeah,
didn't
for
realize
sure.
that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you feel like when you go up on these legislative days that that you're what you're saying is being absorbed? Are they really at least appear to be interested in what you're talking about?
We our legislators, our local legislators, we have there is somebody within our real estate ranks right now that of our realtors that has a very personal connection with every single representative that we have.
That's good. Yeah.
And one of our representatives is a realtor and is a member of the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
And I can't think of his name. It may be not Curtis Hofford. I can't remember which one it is, but he's actually over the Bells Alamo, Brownsville area.
Right,
He's representative
right.
over that area.
Yeah.
And I knew when I walked in, he shook my hand and called me by name. I was like, man, he looks familiar to me. Now I know why, because he's been in the board office. They just recently moved their membership from Memphis to Jackson because this is where they do the majority of their business. But yeah, he's actually a member.
Good.
And but yeah, we try to keep close contact with all of our representatives, and the Tennessee Realtors this year instituted what they called their Tennessee Realtors Political Coordinator, or TNPC, where in each association they have elected one person that is that direct contact with that representative. So if they have questions, they've got somebody in the realtor world to reach out to. If we have questions, we can contact our TNPC for that area and say, hey, find out what you know about this. And I'll give you an example, like the representative over in the Decatur area has a good close relationship with our current president.
Right.
And
That
he
doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt at all. But he's introduced a bill that on the surface to him sounded like a great idea based on some information that he got. And so he's kind of introduced the startup of a bill or whatever. So we've gone to him and talked to him and said, yeah, your idea sounds good here, but here's what could happen. And we do agree that something needs to be done, but let's look at it from a different angle. And he said, hey, that sounds great. And, I'll put this on hold till I hear back from you guys. So that's the kind of relationship that we have.
That's good.
Is to try to help them with their ideas that they have and form it so it doesn't hurt anybody, but still gets across what they're trying to do.
It's a good program to do that, because they do that for other segments of the state. Also, I know they have a day, legislative day for nonprofits.
Yes, they do.
That we participate in, and a couple that I'm involved in. And it's good to be just sit down and say, look, this is the problem. We know you may not be able to fix it right now, but we need you to be aware of it.
Be aware of it.
And
that's
if
right.
they've got it in the back of their mind and some opportunity does come up, then you're a step ahead. So
You're a step ahead.
I salute them for doing that.
Yeah, and it's funny. One of the representatives, when we all left, gave each one of us a blue book on the way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And for those listeners that don't know what the blue book is, that's everything you'd ever want to know about the state of Tennessee,
And
plus
then
all
some.
the current legislators, everything else. The blue book is actually yellow this year.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
And it's for it's in remembrance of women's suffrage.
Yeah.
Is what that's for.
Well, cool.
And there's a big thing in the front of the book about it. It's always good to get those, because I sat there and flipped through it the other day because somebody said, did you read all of that? I said, I was really looking to see what our representatives did for a real job.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting to flip
It
through
is.
there and see what
It's
these people do.
very wide and varied, isn't it?
It is very
Yeah.
wide and varied. A lot
Yeah.
of attorneys, which that's understandable.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of retired people, and then you got a lot of business people that are out
True.
there that do that. So.
My last blue book was given to me and autographed by Jimmy Eldridge
Oh, wow.
as he was going out of office.
Out of
And
office.
That's a keeper on my bookshelf,
Yeah.
and it is interesting to flip through there and pick up some things that you probably thought you knew about Tennessee, but maybe you didn't.
Didn't know. Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. So I've got it on my desk. It even comes with its own little ribbon bookmark in the
Yep,
book. So that
absolutely.
you can bookmark where you stopped.
Absolutely.
So anyways, well, that's enough about that on Day on the Hill, but it was a lot of fun, and it's just and everybody's always super nice. The people that set it up for us, and they always meet with us. We crowd in their office. We had about 12 people, I think, from our association that were there,
Good deal.
which is pretty good. And we visited 6 of our 7 that were in our area. We visited 6 of them.
You as many counties as you cover. You have more
Cover 9
more doors
counties.
to knock on,
Yeah,
don't
9 counties, and one of them we visited was really up in the Weakley County. That's not technically our area, so we
Right.
partnered up with another association and met with them. And we didn't get in to see the new guy, which is Grills, I think, up in Dyersburg.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he's so new. His picture's not on the website. His phone number doesn't attach to his office. So I didn't really know how to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to miss him this time, but we'll pick him back up next time. We'll go back up next year. So.
There we go. You wanted to talk about today the 9 steps to take before buying your first home. I tell you what, let's do.
Yeah.
Let's remind everybody who our sponsors are right quick, and then we'll jump into those 9 steps, and we can work through all of them and not have to stop.
That sounds great to me. Let's do it.
Take a sip of coffee there, and we'll tell you that the show is presented by the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors and sponsored by Leaders Mortgage Services. We had someone from Leaders Mortgage Services over here last week or a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was, and got some great information there. Paul is working on one of our microphones as we do this, but when you get ready to buy the home, and I'm sure that's one of the things we'll cover in the 9 steps we need to take care of, you need to make sure that you can afford the houses that you are looking at, and you can find that out easily by talking to the folks at Leaders Mortgage Services. Let them do a pre-assessment of your credit, your data as far as your income is concerned, and they can help you find a range of house that would be just right for you. They can also put you in the proper mortgage to save you money and get you the best deal you can get. Leaders Mortgage Services, 215-6678. Also, on your insurance side, Allstate Insurance. You're in good hands with Allstate. We all know that. But more so with Angie Hooten Hughes. She's a local agent. 668-1990 is the Jackson office number. Let her talk to you about your homeowners before you pull the trigger and close the loan. You'll have to do that, and she can make sure that your homeowner's policy is tailored to your needs and get you all the coverage that you need, not only for the house itself, but all the interior contents and the outbuildings, the she sheds, as they call them these days, and everything that you need. She can also talk to you about bundling your automobile insurance, your life insurance, everything into one package, save you a lot of headaches and save you a lot of money. So check with Angie Hooten Hughes before that happens. And an attorney will be involved in the process of buying or selling that home. We recommend Bird & Bird. They've been doing that in this market since 1985. They know how to do that. They know the laws, and they cover the ground like the morning dew when it comes to protecting your interest to make sure when you sign that paper that you're getting a house that is free and clear and all yours. Charles Bird carefully reviews all the aspects of each transaction, and that's just the way they do business. 424-7188, Bird & Bird Attorneys. And we're going to talk about the 9 steps to take before buying your first home.
All right, sounds great. I hear I sound hollow and in a hole. Do I sound better back there, Paul? Okay. You told me to talk loud. All right, I'll talk as loud as I possibly can. So has that TV always been over there across the wall? Because that one was just screaming on your head off of there the whole time you were doing that.
That usually has Fox News on it.
Oh, okay, I was going to say it's got Prices Right on it this morning.
Okay.
I was just like, what is that screaming noise? Okay, so anyway, here we go. 9 steps to buying your first home. So if you're out there and you're thinking about buying a home, and a lot of the millennials are now at that age where they can actually purchase a home. They've got the jobs they need, they got the finances they need, and they got the credit that they need. So this kind of goes out to them. But you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are a little older than that, have never bought a home before.
That's true.
My assistant, who you've met on here before, Dana, she just bought her first home a couple of years ago, and she's somewhere in her 40s. But she's always been an apartment dweller.
Oh yeah.
And so she finally decided that she was tired of moving from apartment to apartment and wanted a stable place to live. So she got out there and found herself a home and
put down some roots.
There
you go.
And so far it's worked out pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So the first thing, this is number 1. Ask yourself if you're actually financially stable. Now, what I mean by that is, have you had your job at least a couple of years? Because that's something that they're going to look at. This particular report that I'm reading off of says 5 years, but 2 years from everybody I've talked to is something they look at. And if you're married, if your spouse has worked longer than that, then even if you haven't been on your job 2 years, then you're still probably going to be okay.
Exactly.
And that's where you would need to contact one of your local lenders, like a Leaders Mortgage Services, and just ask them. And remember, it doesn't cost anything to talk to them. So ask yourself that question: are you financially stable to actually purchase a home? All right, and basically, do you have a reliable income? Number 2, are you ready to make monthly mortgage payments? And I would say at least for 15 years. Pretty much most of the mortgages I've seen or hear about or whatever are 15 or 30-year notes, right?
Right.
And even the ones that do 30-year notes refinance at some point in time when they feel like they're financially able to get it down to a 15-year note. And so what it says on here is, are there any other major expenses in the near future that would make keeping up with your mortgage payments difficult? So you're going to have to buy a new car in the future, or do you have some student loans that are going to need to be paid off in the future? And think about that before you get into it, because you are looking at about 15 to 30 years worth of notes. The second one, do you plan to stay in this house for at least 5 years? That one's really important. If you're going to be moving a whole lot, then purchasing a home is probably not the best bet. We're in the seller's market right now. So if you had timed it right and you bought when it was a buyer's market and the prices were down, then yeah, that's fine. You could sell, and they just kept going up and up and up. And every couple of years, you could probably sell the house and make a little bit each time.
Sure.
But we're kind of at the top of that now. So if you're not going to stay put for at least probably 3 to 5 years, probably buying a house is not the best thing for you. My son's at that age where he could purchase a house. He's got the stable job, and the credit score is finally where it needs to be. But, he doesn't know. He's got a girlfriend. They've been dating a couple of years. She graduated school. So, there's something to take into consideration. Do you want to lay down roots and then something change, and now all of a sudden you got to sell it and move someplace else?
Absolutely.
So he's in his apartment, and that's probably where he'll stay at least for another year or so to see what's going on. Let's see here. Raise your credit score. This one's really important. Now, it says on here, and I think this is pretty accurate, that you can get a mortgage with a credit score of 580. I would have said 600, but 580. But this is important. You'll actually get a much better rate, and it'll be a lot cheaper for you to borrow that money if you've got a credit score of 700 or above.
Sure, absolutely.
So yes, you can buy a house with a lower credit score, but there's fees involved. You're a higher risk, which means there's more fees tacked onto it than that. Your interest rate's not going to be as low. And once again, I'd say check with your local lender on that. Sit down, talk to them, go over your finances, let them pull your credit score, because they can pull what they call a soft pull. It doesn't affect your credit score in any kind of way, just to kind of see what they're working with, right? All right, so that's raise your credit score. That was number 4. Number 5 is to look into your debt to income ratio, and this is where I think most of your new income buyers, this is where they have a problem right here, is your debt to income ratio doesn't work out right. And basically what it is, a good way to tell if you're earning enough to afford a home, ideally the expenses linked to buying a home shouldn't exceed 1/3 of your income. So whatever you're currently paying out, any kind of debt, any kind of anything, add up your mortgage payments or what your mortgage payment would be, what a possible utilities would be, property taxes, any expected repairs, and all of that has to be added on to car payments, student loan payments, groceries, gas, everything else that you want to do, utilities, cable, cell phone bills. There's so many things you need to add on to it to see what your debt to income ratio is. And don't use rent as a good determining factor on how much mortgage you can afford. Because rent in today's market, because when housing prices are up, rent's also up because there's less of it to find.
That's true.
But let's just say an average rent right now is between $800 and $1,000 a month for maybe a 1-bedroom apartment. That does not necessarily mean that you can afford $800 to $1,000 a month mortgage, because you got other things to take into consideration. You got your insurance on the property you're buying. You got taxes on the property you're buying. All these things are thrown in there. So an $800 house payment may end up costing you $1,000 by the time you get finished tacking all that other stuff on it.
It very easily could.
That's right.
33% overall, is that what you
indicated? 33% overall.
I was thinking back to the dark ages when I was in the lending business, and that hasn't changed that much.
No.
We used to work off of 25 and 33. 25 for the house payment, including taxes and insurance alone. 33 overall. That'd be your car payments, your student loans, or whatever. So that hasn't changed that much over the last 30, 40 years.
It really hasn't.
Man, I sound old also. That was 40
How
plus
many years?
40 plus years ago.
40 plus years ago. All right. Well, hey, you've been in the business a long time, doing a lot of different stuff, and worn many different hats in this business.
I have.
So that makes doing this part of the show so much easier, because you can always add into it.
I hope. Yeah.
But
that's evening. You definitely need to keep that in mind, because that can be a bummer when you get in there and you think you got everything lined up, and then they say, well, you got this car payment over here that you just bought. You got all that furniture that you just bought,
Those things start to add up over a period of time.
And it's amazing how many people will get an application started and they think everything's going well, and the first thing they do is run out and buy 3 rooms full of furniture to fit the new house that they haven't bought yet.
That they haven't closed on yet. That's right. When I say we, I say realtors and our lenders, local lenders. They will tell you that, please, whatever you do between now and the time you close on that house, do not buy anything.
Right.
Yeah, and if there's anything you're even thinking about buying, contact us first. Let us know what it is, and we'll tell you yes or no.
Yep, for sure.
We've had that conversation I don't know how many times. But and that brings me to my next point is about using local lender versus using an online lender. Mm-hmm. When you're using an online lender, and I can just tell you from experience and being in the real estate business for as long as I have, that the only thing that they're looking at when they look at your debt to income ratio is they're looking at your house, your mortgage payment, your taxes, your insurance, and other debt that you currently have. They're not taking into consideration groceries, gas, anything else that's not involved with the stuff they have to know and what's actually involved with this house. So your normal everyday living expenses, going out, doing stuff, going to the movies, going out to eat, they don't take any of that type of stuff into consideration.
Sure.
And so they may come back and say, hey, great news, you can afford a $250,000 house. That's great, but they're not taking anything else into consideration. So you can buy it. They can give you the money for it, but can you afford it? That's the key.
Exactly.
Can you actually make those monthly payments? You might be able to make the first one. But then you still got to have groceries. You still got to pay your utilities. You still have to have cable, cell phone bills, all these other things we talked about.
You may have to go on a very strict diet and live like a hermit, but you can afford it.
I tell you what, the very first apartment I ever got was over in Post House North, and it was way bigger than what we needed. But it's what my wife, my ex-wife, what my ex-wife wanted, and so that's what we got, right? And we lived there for 1 year. That's how long our lease was. So we stayed there for 1 year. We did not go anywhere at all for an entire year. Every Friday and Saturday night, every friend we knew was at our apartment. And what we tell them is to say, please bring food. And we don't care what it is. We'll feed you. We'll cook it. Whatever we got to do. But everybody's going to have to bring something because we can't afford to buy anything. And so that's how we got our food.
And you won't hurt our feelings if you bring too much.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Bring as much as you want. Stay as long as you want. We don't care. We need groceries for the week. Been there and done that, and it's not fun. It sounds cool, and you feel like an adult when you do it. But then that only takes about 2 months when you realize this was a good decision.
Wrong.
And now you're stuck because you're under a contract. All right. So number 6, save money for your down payment. That's where most people run into a problem. Thank goodness every time this comes up at the national level, where some one of our super legislators out there somewhere gets this bright idea about that we could solve all of our housing problems. Everybody would just put 20% down on the house that they're buying. Most people have trouble coming up with 3% to buy a property, much less 20% to buy a property. Now, I have to admit, in the last probably 5 to 6 years, that has not resurfaced again. But they have shot that down at least 3 times that I know of since I've been in the real estate business.
Good.
Where it crops up somewhere in the national legislature. It just pops up, and somebody comes up with this bright idea. But you got to have at least 3%. Between 3 and 20. They had gone up to 3.5. I don't know if you knew that for Tennessee housing. THDA loans, they had gone up to 3.5, but they dropped it back down to 3 again.
Good.
Which is where it had been forever and a day. So I don't know what that extra 0.5%, why they felt like that was needed.
They had a good idea at the time.
I'm sure they did. And it was another one of those bright ideas. Hey, let's raise it 0.5% because that's going to solve all of our problems. So remember, the more money you put down, the lower your mortgage payment will be. And once again, talk to your lender about this, because you can buy down rates with points and things like that to help get those interest rates down. However, I will say right now, interest rates right now are really low, so that's not even something most people consider. However, I will say, somebody called me the other day about an owner finance, which I haven't heard of one of those in the last 3 or 4 years, because there's really no need for them. Everybody can get qualified.
True.
Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. If you got a halfway decent credit, you can get qualified. All right, so let's see here. Number 7. Plan for expenses for maintaining your home. I haven't even looked at the clock.
No,
okay, we're good.
We're good.
All right. So number 7, plan for expenses for maintaining your home. Now, I will say this one catches a lot of first-time home buyers off guard, especially if they've lived in an apartment all their lives. everything that happens to your property now, heating and air unit, plumbing problems, paint, driveway, roof, whatever, that's all on you now.
It's your baby.
There's nobody to call to say, hey, I need you to come out and fix this. Now, this is where your realtor comes into play, because you can talk to your realtor about, do I need a home warranty? You know, what's the difference between my home warranty and my insurance on my property? And we've had Angie Hooten Hughes on here before, and she's talked about the differences between home warranties and insurance, and they cover two different types of deals, what's happening. But just understand, you're responsible for anything that happens to your house. And
in fact, that was our subject while you were gone last week. We talked about
we had a home warranty company on here.
Yep, sure did.
Christy Stokes.
That's it. I was looking for a name.
Home warranty. Yes, we did. I heard that was a good show.
She did a great job of explaining what you just mentioned, the differences in homeowners and home warranty. And we talked about a little bit of everything from deductibles to you know, switching products, you know, wanting to move up to a better unit if your stove goes out. Yeah, she was very, very comprehensive. We enjoyed that.
I can tell you right now that I've never bought a house. This is me personally. I've never personally bought a house in all the houses I bought in my adult life that I did not just go ahead and purchase a home warranty on. They're not that expensive. It can be thrown in right at the front. A lot of times the sellers would provide the home warranty for you. In some instances, the realtor provides the home warranty for it, because it's an insurance policy for everybody that's involved. I don't care how you look at it. And for no more than it costs, it's just good to know you've got that little bit of peace of mind. And I can tell you, my parents have never owned a property that they didn't just continue their home warranty all the way up. Even to this day, they lived in the house they've lived in now for 10 or 12 years. They've still got their home warranty, and it is in their old house they lived in. They continued it, and about 6 years into it, and they still had their home warranty. Their heating and air unit went out, and this was a massive unit, and it probably saved them, oh good gracious, it probably saved them anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 having that home warranty in place.
It makes sense. It does make sense.
It does. It's just that little peace of mind right there when you close on a property, knowing you got a home warranty. And we'll get to number 8 and number 9 real quick. So number 8, document your income and assets. So remember, we're talking about getting ready to purchase a house. Are you ready? Go ahead and get together everything that you can, all your income that you've got coming in, any assets that you own, anything that can be attributed to you that help bump up, you know, your worth, your net worth. And get all that stuff together, so it helps with when you go visit with the mortgage person, they know what they're dealing with. And number 9, look for the right house for you. And naturally, this is where your realtor comes into play, and why you need to contact a realtor, because they can definitely help you with this. It's best to wait until you can afford something, you know, that you would really like to have. Now, keep in mind, this is a seller's market, so inventory is kind of low right now. So if you're in that market where you have to buy a home, and you get out there and there's only 4 or 5 houses to look at, unless you've got some way to wait, a lot of times you can't wait. You're going to have to go ahead and be able to move fast. And that's why it's always good to do all of these things we just talked about up front. If you go to a realtor first and you start looking at houses and you haven't done all this stuff up front, if you find a house that you'd like to have, you don't have anything to work off of.
True.
And so if you write an offer on it, there's no guarantee that you'll actually be able to purchase that house, because you don't know if you can afford it. You don't know if your debt to income's right. You don't know if your credit score is right. You don't know this stuff. And I will go ahead and say most realtors probably are going to go over all that with you up front.
Yeah, hopefully.
So
hopefully
you don't run into that issue.
Exactly.
Because nothing is so detrimental to think that you're getting ready to purchase your first home and only find out later you can't get it.
You can't find one.
You can't find one.
You know, the contractors are out there desperately trying to get some houses on the market, but the rain keeps backing them up and backing them up.
This same thing happened last year.
Yeah.
You were doing appraisals, so you know, like last year, the same thing in the winter months. Not a lot of snow and ice, but tons of rain.
Tons of rain.
And we drove around Sunday and drove out to a couple of new subdivisions. We do that every once in a while just to see what's going on. And luckily, the one that we went to, they had a walkway of several different types of wood from the street up to the new construction house, and we kind of worked our way across. My kids actually made it without getting in any dirt or anything. We wandered through a couple of houses, but yeah, they're out there. And they need people to buy them, but they need this rain to cool down so they can get out there and finish up a lot of these projects they got going right now. So,
go ahead.
So, anyways,
we're setting up for the next show.
I kind of figured that already up here. So, anyways, but with that's your 9 steps. And if you want to know more about that, you can always contact the local realtor. Any of them will do, or you can contact the association office, 731-668-4907, or you can always email me, brentward@cwtar.com, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of the 9 steps to before you purchase your first home, and kind of give you something to work with.
That's great information. It really is. And some of the things, like I said, some things haven't changed over the years, but some have.
Oh, yeah.
And regulations change and rules change. But basically, it's the biggest purchase most people will ever make.
Yep.
And it's in a lot of cases, it's the most long-term purchase they will ever make. And I know we were in the house we were in previously lived for 25 years. Now, that's unusual nowadays because people are a little more mobile than they are in my generation. But been in the one we're in for 16, and that's hard to believe. It's just, So.
I think we've been where we are. Let's see. My son is 11. He'll be 12. So we've been in our house for 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, right at 14 years.
Yep.
And we have no intentions of moving anytime soon. So, and we just refinanced last year.
Yep.
And dropped it down from our 30 down to 15, which knocked off a few years. And payment went down. Interest rate dropped a lot. I had no idea it was as high as it was until we got in there and started looking at it. and I will just say, as a side note, for those folks that have been in their house for a while, when's the last time you looked to see what your mortgage rate currently is?
Yeah.
Because if you got it 15, 20 years ago, it's probably a lot higher than what they're offering right now.
Yeah, for
now
sure.
would be a great time to refinance. And even though there's closing costs involved, sometimes you can catch some mortgage companies that are offering no closing cost to refinance with them. And then even if you are, like in our case, they just rolled it right back into the purchase price of the house, and it's only going to take about a year to recoup those closing costs, so it wasn't even that big of a deal.
Yeah, so we were talking in the previous show about responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a homeowner, the responsibility increases exponentially over renting, and that's one of them. I mean, you look at it 3 years down the road, look at it 5 years down the road. It's not going to cost you anything to do it, but you may benefit, by $15, $20, $25 a month reduction in your payment.
That's right. You sure could. It's so funny. When we bought our house, we bought ours on a THDA loan when we bought it. And then, of course, the economy and everything just tanked. And all these special programs back when Obama was in office came out with all these special programs try to help homeowners keep from losing their house. And there was a great refinancing opportunity if you had a THDA loan. Mm-hmm. One problem, though, we missed it by 3 months because we closed 3 months too early.
Oh, man.
So the cutoff point started 3 months after. We could have refinanced, a long time ago at a much reduced rate. And that was to help all these people that were going into foreclosures is what it was. We weren't going into foreclosure. We just thought we'd take advantage of
it while it's there.
While it was there. But anyways, we were too far out, so it took us about 5 to 6 years before we finally get to that point where it was worth refinancing. But
absolutely.
Anyway, so that's it for today.
That's it.
So,
that was some great information. I'm glad you are back safely.
Me too.
Back home and doing what you do at the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors. Brent Ward is the CEO and association executive there. And if you have any questions about realtors or real estate, he'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction. Just give him a call. Let's do this again next week. What do you think?
Well, actually, you know what?
Are you leaving again?
I'm not leaving. I'm going to be in town, but you know what? Next week I will be here.
Okay.
I'll make sure that I'm here.
Right.
I've got a little medical procedure I got to do on Tuesday.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it on the air, but I don't have to start anything until noon.
I think I know where
that
you're
probably
going.
just tells everybody what I'm having done on Tuesday.
Well, we'll wish you good luck in that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
we'll
that.
see you before the beginning of the end, so to speak.
That was good, Jimmy. Good job on that.
Thank you. Brent Ward with us from the CWTAR. Thanks to Paul Schulze with the Worthy Road Studios for making us available on the CWTAR Facebook page. Go to Facebook Live. If you didn't get to see it this time, you can at your leisure. It's 10:49. This is the Mid-Morning Mix.